We must get rid of the life that we've had planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. Joseph Campbell. Today, the goal is to talk about our 2019 resolutions. And this is Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 55. If you've got 2019 resolutions or you've got long-term goals, then that's great. I want to basically enhance. And the one thing I want you to take away from this is basically finding not the right way of long-term goal setting or setting your life purpose, but I want to give you some ideas and food for thought for a better way than you're currently doing with your long-term visioning to really excite you every single day that you wake up to want to go and attack this long-term vision that's really a deep burning desire. We can call it a destiny, life purpose, and our mission. And that's what visioning is. I find it's a step further than just goal setting and long-term goal setting. So that's the one thing that I want you to take away, is it's a different approach to long-term goal setting. If you've got a 2019 resolution, we can use that. What we want to do is look at a longer term goal, maybe 10 years. This can be 20 years, 30 years away from now, and use that as a long-term vision to focus on and bring it back to sort of a plan for 2019 and setting goals for the end of the year and for the next 2 years and sort of shorter term, say maybe 6 months. So the way that I look at it now is a sort of non-egotistical way of setting goals. And this is like your vision. So a non-ego goal. And what do I mean by a non-ego goal? Well, let me just give you an example of a good example. So here's a list of a few visions and missions from the large companies we all know about. That is Apple. And their vision is to make a contribution by making tools for the mind that advance humankind. Microsoft, to empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. Google, to improve access to the world's information in one click. And here's one of my own long-term visions and missions, is to help 1 million business owners to live the good life. And the good life is health, wealth, love, happiness, and spirituality. So I want to help 1 million business owners, which is a bold statement. And that's what a purpose is. It really pulls me to show up and make that happen. And that's been created through a dream and imagination, not for looking good, not for what's prescribed in when we're born into this civilization, into this society, what seems to be successful to other people, and what we've been told is successful and what an achievement is. We can only create what success is from within us, and that's what I want to share with you. So there's some good examples of visions, real life purposes, and that's like Steve Jobs, Sergey Brin, I think was Google, and what's his name for Microsoft, Bill Gates. So Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, these guys had a non-egotistical vision, as you can see, for their business. Then they created a mission and principles to build this business up. Okay, sorry, I was having a wee technical error on Instagram there. So one of the bad examples, or a few bad examples of visioning, or let's say a ego version of a goal, is something like a blown up version of yourself, such as becoming a wealthy entrepreneur, being an author that sells 1 million copies of their book. It could be having a Lamborghini, it could be having a mansion, and it's just this blown up version of yourself that you see in the future. This is what we typically see as goals and long-term goals and visions. But what I want to encourage people is to disregard that idea of long-term goals, not just focus. As you can see, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and even myself, we don't focus on the money. We don't focus on the fame. It's about a real dying purpose to serve people, help people, and make an impact in the world. As you can see, words like humankind, and to improve the mind and give people information, give the world. It's talking about the world. It's talking about humankind. It's talking about very big, bold statements of things that they want to achieve. And clearly, Apple, Microsoft, and Google have achieved that, and I'm working towards achieving that by helping people every single day. So by creating that service for the world, you then get paid, obviously, off the back of that. And the vision is much more important than anything else. In the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle, which is one of my favorite books on consciousness, and in this book there's a chapter called on enthusiasm, which is a part of, it's called the 3 modalities of awakened doing, which is very interesting. In with one of those 3, I think acceptance is one, enjoyment, and the third one is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm in Greek, in a longer version of the word enthusiasm, which I won't pronounce just now, it's to be possessed by God. That's actually a meaning in Greek of the word, in a longer version of the word enthusiasm, in possession or possessed by God. So what that means is kind of like the creative energy, the creative flow when you're enthusiastic about working on something, and when you're doing something that you're really enthusiastic about behind that. So what it is, it's like the alignment of your inner, it's the alignment of your outer purpose with an inner purpose. So the alignment of your outer, what you're actually doing here with your physical body form, and then what your inner purpose from your mind, from your dreams, from your imagination. If that's in alignment with what you're actually doing with your inner purpose, then that's where the enthusiasm comes from. That's where that creative wave of energy that you just need to ride the wave, and things just keep flowing out, and you can keep producing, and it's never ending really. Obviously enthusiasm does end, and it comes back and it comes back, but the focusing on the vision, the long-term vision that I'm talking about, is what will help us get into that enthusiastic creative flow of work just coming through us. And another way to describe what Eckhart Tolle was talking about, enthusiasm, is a way of enjoying the process. So if you're doing something and you're thinking so far into the future about that, you're not going to get the enthusiasm as you would if you were present and you obviously had that goal set, like a vision, or call it a goal, but that's just to create some structural tension. So by having this in your mind and getting it out onto paper, and then setting a kind of maybe a deadline or kind of a making it your goal, that just creates this structural tension, which Eckhart Tolle calls it, and that gives us some more drive than just having a thing in our mind that comes and goes. We don't want to rely on our memory here. We want to get out there and stick it in front of us every day. Hi, Simon. Thanks for joining. So that's the most important thing, is that we're present while we're doing, and while we're focusing on that vision, we come back to present while we're actually doing it and enjoying the process. We're not feeling stressed all the time when we're doing it, because stressing just pushing up the hill the whole time is the hardest thing you can do. So if you sometimes feel like you're taking a ride downhill, the snowball effect, then that means you're enthusiastic and you're doing awakened doing mode. So when you get creative like that, and things become a bit easier in that mode. Ralph Waldo Emerson also said, "Nothing great has been created without enthusiasm," which is a very true statement. So enjoy the process and make sure that you either have acceptance, enjoyment, or enthusiasm when you're doing. If it's not within one of those modalities, then you're probably aiming for an egotistical goal that's for yourself. It's not about serving, and not bigger than yourself. That's what one of these, what you could call a vision, a long-term vision like this as well, that comes from your inner purpose. So on that, how do you do visioning like this? How do we create these visions beyond normal goal setting? And one of the ways I learned out when I was down in London at a workshop called Super Genius, I learned to do a meditation called the Land of Plenty meditation, which I won't do today because I don't have time for that. And I'm sure you don't have time to sit and do that just right now. But this is just an introduction to visioning. And what we do is a Land of Plenty meditation, and we would basically just get present. You can get present by going for a walk without your earphones on, just going for a walk and into nature and down the beach. And then once you're present, you could come back home and or you meditate, and then what it is this exercise is all about imagination and dreams, from like childhood dreams that you've maybe suppressed and just put off for a long time. And what we want to do is get present, then sit down with a sheet of 10 sheets of paper if possible, and just ask your subconscious mind, what do I want, or what would I love, what would I like to create, and then just keep asking yourself, and what else, and then keep asking and get sheets and sheets of paper of things that you want. Like, it can be anything. It can be based on health, wealth, love, happiness, and everything else. And it doesn't have to be materialistic. It can be materialistic. And just get this off your head onto paper, and then ask yourself, when you're kind of like running out of writing, and just Ryan Pinnock taught us to write as if no one's watching, which is a great statement on continuing it. So things can pop up like walk the dog around the park and go to the beach. Different things can come up that you kind of go, now that's not a goal. But what you want to do is write these things down, and then get that all down on paper. And it might not all make sense at first when you're just writing it down, but that's the important part of the creative process, is writing it down, getting it off your head onto paper. Then you can connect the dots and be a wee bit more logical later. And that's what true visioning is. And then when you get that off there, see if you've got any more, like if you're resisting something like that, like it's something that doesn't make sense, you go, nah, I don't want to do that. Just get that down on paper. So what are you resisting? Ask your mind, what am I resisting? Write that down, and just keep asking what else until you've really emptied your mind onto paper. And once you get to that stage of offloading your dreams and imagination, and you've asked your subconscious for the answers, you've got maybe 5 pages. The next step is really to connect the dots. Get maybe a bullet point list and get a 1-pager, I would say. So get all these like 5 pages that you get, 6 pages, and get that all to a couple of bullet points, and maybe even set it in chronological order. That's what I have. And you could set like 6-month goal, turn these into like sort of short terms, 1 month, 6 month, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, even 30 year lifelong goals. And start to look at them every day and night. And it was Napoleon Hill that taught me that process of looking at it every day and every night. Grant Cardone talks about that as well. So he writes his goals down every day and night. But my process is I have a 1-pager. I read through them every day and night, and I have things like spend more time with family and friends. Like, these are simple things that maybe I've not been giving myself as much as I should have been. And then there's other things that are like buying castles, and then there's other things like mastering communication. So one of the reasons that pulled me to go on Facebook Live and go to Toastmasters every fortnight and do this every week is to aim for that goal and keep showing up and doing talking, public speaking, getting myself booked in. That's all from this vision of mastering communication. And the reason deeper below that came up in my vision and was not about mastering communication, because that could be just on its own an egotistical goal, an ego goal. The reason I want to master sales is so I can communicate the wisdom I gather up throughout my life, which is the knowledge and experience that I gain, my pains, and make it your gains, and really serve the world. Like, use my life as an example of what people can achieve, but also use my lessons that I've learned in my life to communicate it verbally and on video, and as clearly as I possibly can and as briefly as I possibly can, so that people can set these visions, and then I want to be able to give people the belief that they can actually achieve them as well. So that's really important to me, in a long-term vision, a good example of mine. And I would like you to create the same for yourself, review them every day and night, And I mean like first thing in the morning when you wake up and just before you go to bed. So when you do it just before you go to bed, it puts it in your subconscious, and your subconscious mind actually goes to work while you're sleeping to think for the next day how it will make that happen. And as I do this every single day, it's literally like magic. Things just start to happen. I'm ticking off my list of things. And I think this is a process we need to do every couple of months. So we're ticking off. We're actually getting through these lists. And waking up at 5:30 in the morning is one of mine, and I'm ticking that off. I'm doing that. I've been doing that for 6 days in a row. Some things that I didn't think I could possibly achieve. So no matter how bold the things that come out of your head when you're visioning, get them down on paper. And then the next step is, once you've got that, obviously you've got to, you can't just do the law of attraction. It's the law of action. So make sure you actually take action on these visions. You don't just think about them, as in the book, The Think and Grow Rich. It's great concepts, but I want to stress on top of the thinking, but I want to stress the doing. Make sure you actually take these visions in, read them, you're thinking about it, but make sure you actually do push yourself a bit to do and take action. Okay, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this lesson on the power of visioning and how you can generate that enthusiasm on tap. Thanks for watching.